Hi folks, welcome to this video on group and team dynamics. So this is about teams coming together, people coming together to create groups and teams. And like most things I start with, let's get a definition. And it sounds a bit daft, but let's get a definition of a group or a team. A group or a team is a collection of people, that's fairly obvious, but with shared common goals. You join your clubs and your teams because you have shared goals in terms of you want to win things, you want to achieve things, or maybe just you want to socialize and meet people who are similar to you, but you all come together with a shared common goal. Now, the first thing we're going to look at are the stages of group formation. Now, these are these things here: forming, storming, norming, performing. Deliberately meant to rhyme, so in theory it helps you increase the chance of remembering them, but also increase the chance of you getting them muddled up a little bit. So forming, storming, norming, performing. Let's have a look at what each one of those means. So forming, as you might expect, this is where the group comes together for the first time. So, or your team signs or recruits new players. So you've got new members or a new team entirely. When that happens, there is a high dependence on the leader because the group is getting to know one another. Your roles within that group are generally unclear, and the leader, as a result, has got to give strong direction. Okay? What we then move on to is what's called the storming phase. Now, this is inevitable. Most teams go through this, but the point is to try and go through it as quickly as possible. The storming phase is where you have periods of conflict, so you storm a little bit. Individuals fight and challenge each other for key roles. It might be starting positions in the team, but it might be for roles like the joker of the team, the hard man or hard woman of the team, the engine room of the team, one of those roles that isn't necessarily a positional thing. What you often get is, however you pronounce this, cliques or cliques often start to form. You have little pockets of people who always hang out with each other and you're not sure whether they're having a go at you or being supportive, but they've got little groups forming. But those three are often, seen as quite negative. But this one, by the time in the storming phase, we've got a clearer team focus. We've got to know each other a little bit longer. And as a result, the leader can take on a bit of an advisory role. They become an advisor to the team as opposed to the ones giving all the direction with massive high dependence on them. Now, as I said, the aim is to stay in the storming phase as briefly as possible. You don't want to be storming for too long. Because what happens after that is you then go into the norming phase where things start to become normal, as in norming. So roles and responsibilities are clear. You have a lot of agreement on decisions now, and the group generally becomes more social. They start to be, a little bit friendly, a little bit kinder to each other. And as a result of that, the leader can now start to share their responsibilities out a little bit. And then finally, we then get on to the performing stage, as I've written there. With a performing stage, we now have clear goals and the group works towards achieving them. Any disagreements are now solved internally and positively, and the leader helps with personal and interpersonal issues. So what we're seeing is a much smoother transition. This is where we're going to get the best performance, hence why it's the performing role. The aim of a good coach is to get from there to there as quickly as possible. End of season, mid-term, through the season for many sports, they'll sign new players, get new recruits in. Anytime you sign plenty of new players, you send that team back a little bit to the forming stage, but you want to get them through to the performing stage as quickly as possible. So they're the 4 stages of group formation. So with this video, I'm doing all the factors that affect group dynamics and team dynamics. So the stages of group formation was one of them. Now I'm going to look at cohesion. Now, you could get short answer questions on each of these, 2, 3, 4 marks, 5 marks, something like that, or you could get a big question worth lots of marks on all of this. Describe the factors that affect group formation, or that affect groups dynamics. So please make sure you're aware of that. That would be everything on this video for a big question. But you do need to know each little theory in its own little right. And the next one is team cohesion. Cohesion is how well something sticks together. So how well, and that should say team, I apologize. There we go. How well a team comes together and sticks together. Cohesion, to stick, hence why glue is cohesive. So cohesion can be 2 things: group integration, so individuals' feelings about the group, and individuals attract. Now, this slide is something called Steiner's model. And it basically, Steiner looked into why do some very good teams, collection of very strong individuals, underperform. So you've got great players, great, the England football team, in theory, very good individuals, but terrible. Let's be brutally honest about that. So why do some good teams, when they've got very, based on the strength of their individual members, frequently underperform? And Steiner looked at this and said, right, that your actual productivity is how well you actually perform, the results you actually produce, and the performances you actually produce. Now, that is equal to your potential productivity, the best performance the group could produce if everything goes well and all individuals play to their highest level. But take away from that, minus from that, losses due to faulty processes. Now, what are faulty processes? Well, they can be categorized as two things. Number one, coordination problems, poor tactics, poor leadership, poor management, things like that. And number two, motivational problems, differences in individual levels of motivation, i.e., some people just want to win, others just wish to socialise, others just wish to stay fit. Now, I dare say that the England football team has had plenty of individual motivational problems, some who aren't really that interested, and some are more interested in terms of winning money, or being, earning lots of money and increasing their image rights. But there are some members who want to win trophies. Now, if they're not all wanting to win trophies, then there's a motivational problem. I dare say the England football team has had a lot of issues with employment of poor tactics and poor leadership and poor management, and they all take away from the potential of your team and leads to an actually quite low performance. But here, unbelievable, Leicester City winning the Premier League. Who saw that happening? Now, their potential is good. They're very good players to play in the Premier League. But what must have happened is their losses must have been very, very small. They must have had very few faulty processes, very few coordination problems, and very few motivational problems. And that led to a much higher actual productivity to beat the teams like Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, things like that. So that's how it can work for you, and that's also how it can work against you. And finally, then, something else that affects the quality of your team performance is something called the Ringelmann effect. Now, what's been noticed a lot of times is that individual effort levels drop in a group as group size increases. Now, Ringelmann, the psychologist who did this, first noticed this in tug of war. When you measured the individual power output of one member, and then you put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in that tug of war team, their individual or their group level increased. The amount of effort they put in the group obviously increased, but their individual effort levels dropped. So in other words, people seem to slack off or ease off when you put them in a group compared to when they are asked to do a job on their own. And it makes a link to Steiner's model that we've just looked at. The individual effort levels drop due to coordination and motivational problems. There are other people here, so I'd have to try as hard. Now, these people will say that they are trying as hard as they can, and they honestly are thinking that. But it's something that happens. Us human beings do. We ease up when we are, or we ease our individual effort levels when we are part of a group. So the theory is also referred to as social loafing. So loaf is to ease off. So when we are social in a group, we ease up and we do very little. So some group members will hide or feel lost behind teammates, resulting in a drop in individual effort levels. How many times have you played a team sport and you haven't closed that player down or tried to fill that gap or push on and apply pressure because you thought someone else was going to do it? Whereas if you were the only person there, you would have done it. So that's what we're saying by this Ringelmann effect and social loafing. Individual effort levels drop when you put someone into a team. Obviously, we don't want that to happen. We want to try and increase and maintain individual effort levels. We don't want them dropping off when people are playing as part of a team. So what can we do to try and prevent these losses, to try and stop this drop in effort level? Well, what's often used in American sports and very much, coming over into British sports a lot more is the use of individual statistics. So tackle counts, passes, shots on target. So we can, if you know you're being analysed as an individual within the team, you are less likely to undergo social loafing or the Ringelmann effect. I know even though I'm in a team, I'm being analysed as an individual, so I'm less likely to ease up. Also giving individual feedback, making sure that everyone knows exactly what they need to be doing, talking to them about the performance, telling them to push on and drop back and things like that. But also getting them to support each other, peer support and encouragement, so they know that we don't ease up. The harder we try, the better the results we're going to be. Come on, keep driving, things like that. But if we also set individual goals instead of just team goals, i.e., I need you to do this, and I've only asked you to do this, so you've got to do it, That's setting that person an individual goal and has reduced the chance of them doing social loafing. They can't ease up. They've been the only one to be given that task. And finally, we can increase social interaction, get them getting on well with each other so they are less likely to slack off. So they're less likely to pull, tie the laces tight and let's get on with it, because I am part of this team and it's a fight for my teammates just as they're going to fight for me. So they're methods that we can use to overcome this. Now, each of these slides, like I said, could be a short answer question, or it could be a big question on explain the factors that affect group dynamics, in which case I would mention all of this that I've done on this video. So I hope you found this video useful, folks.